What's up, guys? My name is Aaron. Today I'm going to be reviewing Brigsby Bear. Brigsby Bear is a movie that's directed by McCary and it stars Kyle Mooney. It's basically about this young man who is put in this underground bunker by these people that he thinks are his parents, and the only kind of connection that he has to the real world is this educational children's program called Brigsby Bear. Eventually he gets taken out of that situation. When he gets taken out of the situation, the only way that he can kind of deal with the new world that he's kind of put into is by making a movie that kind of deals with that and kind of finishing out the saga. The movie's basically about him making the movie and kind of interacting with a lot of different people. I was looking forward to this because I'm a really big fan of Kyle Mooney and the Good Neighbor brand. I really like their type of humor. It's just really similar to the type of things that I like. They're always creating something that's really different and really unique, really character-based comedy. I really like the way they kind of approach that type of humor. So when I heard that they were making a movie with Kyle as a star, this immediately shot up to one of my most anticipated of the year. I don't think it's a total slam dunk of a movie. It does have its flaws. I do think this is a pretty entertaining and really enjoyable movie that's really boasted by Kyle Mooney's really awkward sensibilities. The humor to me is definitely where the movie is at its strongest. I really love those character moments that Good Neighbor is really known for, and this movie really does have that a lot. Kyle's James is a guy that's really been kidnapped and has lived in this bunker for the entirety of his life. I'm really only seeing this kid show as the only type of thing that he has to kind of escape the trauma of his situation. So when he does go out to the world, he has to interact with real people, and that's where the comedy really kicks in for me. While there's not a lot of moments like this, I think the tone of the movie is a little bit more subdued and subtle. The movie really excels when it just lets Kyle loose and just allows him to be this socially awkward weirdo that he is just so naturally good at. He's really perfected this persona in his Man in the Street interviews that he does at Saturday Night Live and on Good Neighbor back in the day, and I think that he really knows how to naturally come across and make people feel uncomfortable. I just love his natural boyish excitement when he talks about the show to different people, and they have no idea what the show is, so they're just dumbfounded whenever he talks to them. Combined with his looks to the ground as he talks to people, just really makes them feel uncomfortable. I think the Kyle does a really good job with that aspect of it. I really dislike seeing him interact with different people, so anytime that he can kind of do that in movies, it's just really cool to me. I think that his brand of humor is just so specific, but it really feels real to me. It's not going to be for everybody if you're not a fan of cringe comedy, but this is absolutely up my alley, and I think if you like this type of humor, you're going to like his performance. I also think the tone of the movie was pleasant and enjoyable. If you look at the premise, you'd think of Room, the Brie Larson movie, with kind of a quirky twist, but I think it's more in line with a movie like Blast from the Past, with an infusion of Be Kind Rewind and Me and Earl and Dying Girl. To even make sense of this being thrust in a completely foreign world, James sets out to complete the Brigsby Bear saga by making a full-length movie with the help of his family and friends, kind of completing the saga. Even though the tone of the movie is light with the full support of people around him, there's an air of darkness with the mythology and the rules of the show that kind of make their way to the surface of the movie. It kind of rides this pretty fine line of kind of being a little bit too unsettling, but I think it rides that really well, creating a unique but pleasing movie experience. I also think Kyle Mooney is really great here. I'm a really big fan of Kyle Mooney, so you might have to take this with a grain of salt, but I really like when he's really shines and let loose and can kind of be a complete weirdo around people. He's just really really naturally awkward around people, and the way he chooses to interact with people with an added emphasis of being cool to fit in just makes all of his interactions more unsettling funny. When he talks to this guy, he just repeats things that the dude says. So when he says dope's a shit, he says that throughout the movie, and I thought that was a really nice touch, thinking, oh, if I just say this thing, I'll be cool like this guy is. I think those type of moments really make him feel like a real person to me. But I also think that when he is given more dramatic things to do in the movie, he's solid there too. I know that he can play emotionally fragile really well, like his Bruce Chanley skits on Saturday Night Live, and I think he really leans into that fragility really well in certain scenes. I don't think he's super impressive here like Adam Sandler was in Punch Drunk Love, but I can definitely see the talent here. I've always thought that it was really harder to be good at comedy than drama, because to me, with comedy, you really have to feel for the character, I guess, because you're really kind of going through these emotional roller coaster, I guess, with the character. That's something that I could always say about Kyle's performances. Like, even in the most minuscule moments, he really makes character feel like a real person. And I think that in this movie, he does make James feel like a lived-in character that you care about. Even though the premise and like just like the character is just ridiculous, I think he really makes James feel like a real person to me. I think the major flaw with the movie is that I think that the writing for the other characters could be a bit stronger. I think the cast is pretty impressive. Like, it's really full of like a lot of capable actors, especially considering like the director and writer haven't done a full-length feature at all. But I feel like the cast was basically given nothing to do. I think Greg Kinnear is given the most to do here as a detective who warms up to James and helps with the movie. I get a sense of why he's doing the things that he's doing, with the backstory that he's given, but I feel like everybody else isn't really given anything to do. Mark Hamill and Jane Adams, they're the captors that keep him in this situation, and I think that in premise they're interesting, but they're really not given anything to do, especially Jane Adams, who's really given like 2 scenes and then she's out of the movie. I feel like they really weren't given anything to do. I think the same thing can be said about his biological parents, played by Matt Walsh and Michaela Watkins. I feel like they were given nothing to do, and they're pretty talented actors too. While I was excited to see Beck Bennett in this, Kyle's like partner in crime and doing these really weird and awkward skits, I feel like he was really relegated to like 1 or 2 scenes that could have been cut easily if you were trying to slim the runtime of the movie. I thought the dynamic between James and his sister, that was played by Ryan Simpkins, could have been like a really good emotional core to the movie. Just how this weirdo brother is just thrust into this teen's life and just how she has to handle this situation. While the movie does do like some things with it, I feel like the whole arc just felt kind of underwritten to me. Even though I think the actors did a good job when the serious moments kind of occur, I think they did a good job with those type of things. I get this is Kyle Mooney's show and you really want to highlight like him as a performer, but I think that if you cared stronger for the characters, you would have really created like a stronger emotional backboard for James and kind of the support system, especially with the caliber of actors that are in this movie. Like, I'm not even mentioning like Claire Danes. Like, it just feels really like kind of a waste of their talents to me. And I do think this is a movie that's more interesting in premise than the actual execution of the movie. To me, it really doesn't explore James' psyche all that much, which is, I guess, what you would expect from a movie like this. I know the movie is more in tone with Blast from the Past than Room, but I feel like if it had kind of explored the darker side of the trauma of his situation, it would have made it a lot more interesting to me. I get why the writers would have wanted to keep the tone the way that it was, kind of making it more whimsical and kind of focusing on him being like a creative person and stuff, but I think the movie could have, to me, been a certified cult classic with some significant weight behind it, kind of making it a little bit more emotional and weighted to me. Overall, I do think this is an enjoyable movie with an intriguing premise that was executed in a cute fashion as opposed to a darker and more interesting tone to me. I think the humor, when it's really allowed to shine, is consistently pretty funny because I think Kyle Mooney is so good at being this awkward dude, and I just love the interaction that he has with different people. Toning the plot, making this movie as a way to kind of cope with his situation, could have veered to like the overly sentimental, but it didn't really make it feel too cheesy, making you like kind of allow you to feel for the situation and James' situation. And I think Kyle's really good here at acting, making James feel like a real person no matter how absurd the situation could be. I always thought that he was good in the moments like Bruce Chandling and stuff on Saturday Night Live. I think he's pretty solid here as well. To me, it's hampered by like the thin writing for the supporting characters, with Kinnear and maybe Simpkins being the only ones that are allowed to shine. And I get the overall like genial and kind of happy tone of the movie. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting and weighty if the movie had went in a darker direction. Overall, I'll give this like a 6 out of 10 if this was like a normal movie. I think because of Kyle's kooky and kind of emotionally resonant performance in this movie, kind of bumps it up for me. So overall, I would give this like a 7 out of 10. It's not as great as I thought it was going to be, but it's definitely worth a watch to me. I don't know if it's like something that you need to rush out to the movies to see, but if you get a chance to see it like on streaming on demand or Netflix or something like that, I would definitely check this out. So I'm really excited to see what the Good Neighbor guys do and see them kind of continue and kind of improve on their work, and I think they really can do that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Brigsby Bear. What are your guys' thoughts? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments what you thought, and thanks for watching. Thanks, guys.